All right, so we're diving into Othello. This is, Shakespeare, so we're not talking about like some simple love story gone wrong.
Yeah.
This deep dive is going to get kind of dark. You guys sent in a ton of stuff on this one, so I'm guessing you're down to go way deeper than like the cliff notes on this one, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to unpack all that. We're talking race, society, the whole 9 yards. Might even find some stuff that surprises you along the way.
I am here for it. Okay, so Act 1, Venice. We meet Othello. He's a big-time general, well-respected, all that. And he's secretly married to Desdemona, who, gotta say, seems pretty great.
Okay.
But there's a catch. Her dad is, how do I put this, less than thrilled about the marriage.
Yeah, less than thrilled might be putting it mildly. We're talking accusations of witchcraft and, honestly, some pretty disturbing language from Brabantio, Desdemona's dad. It makes you wonder if it's really just about him being a protective father, Something just feels off about it.
Right. Especially because, we can't ignore the fact that Othello's a Moor, which, in Venice at the time, that comes with a whole lot of baggage, right?
Right.
Shakespeare's not exactly being subtle about setting up these cultural clashes right from the jump.
Not subtle at all. And right in the thick of it, you've got Iago, furious. Othello overlooked him for a promotion, but here's the thing. It's like more than just a job, right?
Yeah, Iago was holding on to some serious resentment there.
Yeah.
And the way he talks about Othello, all that animal imagery, it's kind of creepy.
It's very deliberate. Shakespeare was a master of using animals to get at those, base instincts that drive us. Iago's got this hunger for revenge, and we're about to see it unleashed.
Okay, so we've got all this drama just simmering in Venice, and boom, news hits. Turkish fleet headed for Cyprus. Talk about turning up the heat.
Right. It's not just that it adds this layer of danger and urgency to everything, but it physically takes Othello and Desdemona away from, everything they know, makes them way more vulnerable to, someone like Iago.
So they get to Cyprus, and Iago, he doesn't, miss a beat.
Yeah.
He's got this whole evil plan already in motion, right?
Oh, yeah. Iago, he is crafty. And you know what? I think the puppeteer analogy, that works so well for him. He's pulling all these strings, making all these things happen so that it looks like, Cassio and Desdemona, they're having an affair, which, spoiler, they're totally not.
And Cassio, he just falls for it every single time.
Yeah.
Like that whole scene with the drunken fight. Oof.
Exactly. Iago's using that to make Cassio look bad to get him out of the way. But it's the handkerchief. Oh, man, that's where things really get going. That little piece of cloth. It's like Shakespeare's ultimate symbol for, destroying everything.
Like just a handkerchief. But somehow it's the most important thing in the entire play. How does Iago how does he make that happen? Turn this nothing little thing into, the ultimate proof of betrayal.
Because Iago, he gets people.
Yeah.
He knows how they think, how they'll react. So he puts the handkerchief right where Cassio's going to find it, knowing Othello will see it. But he doesn't just leave it at that. He makes up this whole story around it. Just, whispers and hints, playing on Othello's doubts. And Othello, he's already so insecure, so easy to manipulate.
Yeah, it's messed up how easily Iago gets in his head. And I keep thinking about, how we were talking about Shakespeare using animal imagery to describe Iago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that, connects to how Iago gets to Othello?
Oh, 100%. It's he doesn't just manipulate Othello, he infects him, fills his head with all this awful twisted stuff. And then later, when Othello starts talking about Desdemona, he's using that same language. It's Iago's messed up worldview is poisoning Othello's.
Ugh. And watching Othello change, it's rough. He starts out so noble, this great leader, and then the jealousy just eats him alive. You know it's not going to end well.
Shakespeare, he's a genius at that. He doesn't just jump to the bad stuff. He makes you feel every bit of Othello's pain, every doubt, every moment of suspicion. You understand how jealousy can turn even the smartest person into, this.
And Desdemona, talk about being caught in the crossfire. There's nothing she can do.
That's the tragedy of it, right? She's trapped by the rules of her time, by what society expects of her. She can't just, stand up and say, hey, that's not true. No one would listen. And you can't help but wonder, how would this play be different if she had a voice, if she had some power?
It's a good question, and honestly, kind of a scary one. How often does that still happen today? People, especially women, not being heard, not being believed, just because of, the way things are. It's like you're watching this train going way too fast right toward a brick wall, and you can't look away. Acts 40 and V, everything just explodes.
Shakespeare, he spends all this time building up the tension, and then bam, it all comes crashing down, just like you said. And Othello's completely fallen for Iago's lies. He goes after Desdemona.
That scene is brutal, man. Just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Desdemona, she has no clue what's going on, why he's accusing her, and she's begging for her life, and he doesn't hear her.
And the thing is, she's innocent, but Shakespeare, he's such a good writer. He makes you feel for Othello anyway.
Yeah.
Like you can understand kind of how he got to this dark, delusional place, even though it's all based on lies and Iago messing with his head.
It's so hard to watch. You just want to yell at the stage. If Othello just like talked to her, if he really trusted her, none of this would happen.
And that's where the whole time thing comes in. Shakespeare plays with time in this play, right? It's called double time, I think, where it feels like things are happening really fast, but also over like weeks and weeks. It makes it really intense, but it also makes you wonder, like, could Othello have really changed that much fast?
So you're saying Shakespeare's using time on purpose to like mess with the audience a little.
Exactly. He wants to pack all those huge, awful emotions into a short amount of time to really drive it home. And it makes you think about how, when we're going through something really emotional, time just feels different.
Whoa. Okay, my mind is a little blown. And then, well, the worst happens. Othello kills Desdemona because he's convinced she betrayed him.
It's horrible. There's no other way to put it. But even here, Shakespeare gives us a little bit of, I don't know, maybe not hope, but something. Emilia, Iago's wife, she sees what's going on, and she can't stay quiet. She tells everyone what she knows, how Iago is behind all of it. And the handkerchief, she tells everyone the truth about that, too.
I love Emilia in that moment. She risks everything to do the right thing, even though it means going up against her own husband. Talk about standing up for what you believe in.
It's like Shakespeare saying that staying silent, it just lets the bad guys win, You got to fight for what's right, even when it's scary.
For sure. So, in the end, Iago, he's caught. Everybody knows what he did. Othello sees what he's done. Is that like justice? Does it feel like justice?
That's the big question, right? Because Iago, even when they catch him, he won't explain himself. Why'd he do it? Was he just trying to get back at Othello? Was it something about Othello being a Moor? We'll never know for sure. Shakespeare, he likes to leave us thinking.
And Othello? Oh man, he kills himself in the end. Can't live with what he did? I don't know, is that giving up? Or trying to, like, atone for what he did?
And that's Othello, right? It makes you think hard about stuff you thought you understood. It's not just a simple story about some jealous dude. It's about ambition and racism and how we see the world based on what other people tell us. Shakespeare, he was really on to something.
No kidding. Okay, so we've spent all this time on Othello. What do you hope, like, what's the one thing you want listeners to walk away with from this deep dive?
I think Shakespeare, he wants us to remember that people are complicated. We're not all good or all bad, and sometimes we make terrible choices, even when we think we're doing the right thing. Othello is like a warning, Don't let your ambition control you, don't believe everything you hear, and think for yourself.
Seriously. Don't be Othello. Don't be Iago either, obviously. All right, everyone, listen. Next time you hear a story about jealousy, about betrayal, remember this deep dive. Remember Othello, because things, they're not always what they seem, and that is something to think about.